Now, can you imagine being in charge of 150 other dudes? Hard pass. Hello, I am Brother Francisco Whitaker, and this is All Good in the Brotherhood. Who's in charge of this whole crazy idea of putting a bunch of dudes all together in the same place, wearing the same thing, every day, living together? Who's the boss? Who's in charge? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Before we do though, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you'd never miss any of our great All Good in the Brotherhood content. And I know most of you aren't actually subscribers, so let's get those numbers up because I know you all want to learn more about being a monk, so just follow along. Okay, so who's in charge here? What's the hierarchy? What's the structure of order and authority in the monastery? Now, before we even start about that, just a quick comment on the idea of hierarchy and authority. That is not something that's genuinely popular these days because, people push against the patriarchy, they push against authority, they push against whatever tells me I can or cannot be what I want to be. Well, newsflash, it is within our nature to be in a hierarchical system. Not because one must be dominant over another, but because by our nature, there are some who are meant to be leaders and there are others who are meant to be followers. Because if everyone's in charge, guess what? Nothing gets done. But if everyone's a follower, then no one has a goal to strive for. No one has a point of contact to follow. So there are genuine natural leaders and there are genuine natural followers. And that exists in the church. Christ founded the church with a hierarchy. So it makes sense that those who are living as followers of Christ, reflecting even the way the early apostles lived, that we would have the same thing in the monastery. So we'll talk about that now. So hierarchy of the monastery. Well, the top dog, the number one, the boss of the whole community is the abbot. The abbot, the word abbot comes from Abba, which means father. Jesus says to call God our Father, to call him dad or daddy, which sounds weird, but he's talking about making God personal, having a personal relationship with him. Well, the word abbot is a derivative of that because the abbot is supposed to be like the dad of the community, the spiritual father. It is the abbot who gives the monks their commands, who gives them orders. He's the one who receives new community members. He's the one to whom monks profess vows. He's the symbol, the head, kind of the figure of the whole community. And as a father, he is to take care of each one of his sons. And a really awesome symbol of that is at vows. When a monk is preparing to commit his whole life to the monastery, the abbot stands up and sings, "Come, children, hear me. Let me teach you the fear of the Lord." And the abbot is calling his sons, he is calling, singularly, them to come to the monastic life. And he is the one who is calling them as their father, as their dad, symbolizing Christ and God the Father, who is truly the one who calls them to that life. So he takes care of the needs of each one of his sons. And in the rule, Benedict says that the abbot, the Abba, must truly be like a father. And as a father, he becomes responsible to God for all of the monks, so that on the day of judgment, he is held accountable either positively for the good that is in his community or negatively for the lack that might be his community. So while the abbot is a very privileged and a very honored position, it comes with a lot of seriousness and it comes with a lot of responsibility. So from the abbot, we see our spiritual point of contact. He's the one who directs the monastery, who takes it to its next step, who transitions from one phase of monastic life to another as we continue to move on even with the world around us. So that's the abbot. Number two is the prior. Prior is number two, different from the abbot because the abbot is elected by the whole community. There's a voting process in which the abbot is chosen from the community. The prior, on the other hand, is picked by hand by the abbot. The prior is number two, and in a sense, he's more of like the logistical day-to-day head of the community. The abbot is the spiritual, the overall head, the father of the community. Prior is the day-to-day. Who's moving here? Who needs to go and take care of this mission there? Who needs a car to go to the dentist? Who is in charge of Mass today? Who will be leading prayer this week? Making sure that monks are in regular attendance. Whatever day-to-day needs that monks have, they go to the prior, because those all can't be issues that the abbot deals with too, because he's there more for the spiritual discernment growth of his community members, of his sons. The prior is there to make sure that kind of the daily human activities are taken care of. So that's the prior. Number 3 in charge, another superior, is called the sub-prior. Sub, right under the prior. Now, depending on the community, what the sub-prior does could change. Some communities he has more of maybe a spiritual leadership, kind of similar to the abbot. In other communities, he's much more logistical, like the monastery. At St. Vincent, our prior is kind of much more of kind of the maintenance lead in the community. So while the abbot is taking care of spiritual goods, the prior is taking care of day-to-day human needs, the sub-prior is just making sure that the monastery that we live in stays standing. So he's kind of making sure that there's a coordination of heating and cooling, that the cars are getting regular maintenance, that whatever groundskeeping, upkeep needs to be taken care of, he does it. So he's kind of more of a background, kind of a handyman. And that doesn't necessarily have to be what the sub-prior does, but in our community, that's his role. Number 4 in rank is the Novice Master. The Novice Master is responsible for the formation and the education of the new first-year monks. So they're called novices because they're new to the community. They actually have not professed vows yet. They wear most of the habit. They don't have this hood part, which is a symbol of vows, but they wear the rest of the habit, and he is in charge of growing them spiritually to prepare for the possibility of them taking vows. The novitiate is a very privileged time in monastic vocation because it is in this place that one is living and yet still deciding if this is the life that they want to have. Well, in the novitiate, one becomes separated from the world. There's no electronics, no TV, no cell phone, no internet access, basically no music, very, very few visits from others. You're not really supposed to interact with people outside. You aren't supposed to leave the community at all. So there's one who is supposed to guide them and walk with them. And the abbot said the novice master should be a man who is skilled at the art of winning souls. So the novice master is skilled at helping men truly understand what is the will of God. Because the novice is supposed to come with a desire to seek God. And it is the novice master who helps him to seek the God well. So the last superior, number 5, is called the Procurator, or another word is the cellarer. And for our community, the Procurator is really the financial advisor of the whole community. So he makes sure that monks in their jobs who are, getting a salary or getting payment, that all is fed through the right systems to make sure that it goes to the monastery. No monk keeps his own salary. It goes directly to community. He takes care of our taxes. He makes sure our healthcare bills are taken care of, makes sure our auto insurance is up to date. Our Procurator is, he's a jack of all trades and master of pretty much all of them as well, on top of all of those things. And yet, he's also in a special way responsible for all the goods of the monastery. In the rule of Benedict, the cellarer is the one who monks go to when they need something material. Well, nowadays that kind of translates a little bit more to financial needs or maybe medical expenses, so that we go to the Procurator as well. The prior is more like those day-to-day individual interactions and those individual singular needs. The Procurator is taking care of the finances of all of that. So, in prayer, the abbot is always the presider over prayer. But if he's not there, it goes to the prior. The prior's not there, to the sub-prior, to the novice master, and finally to the Procurator. Those are our 5 superiors, the hierarchy of the community. Now after that, we have seniority. We have statio, or station. So there are kind of 2 groups of stations. There are senior monks and junior monks. Senior monks are those who have professed solemn vows, and junior monks are those who have professed simple vows and have not yet made their full life commitment to the community. Seniors are ranked by statio, by station, based upon their entrance into the community. So Benedict says in the rule that he who arrives at the second hour of the day is junior to the one who arrives at the first hour. So I rank below all the monks who entered the community before I did. Even though I've taken solemn vows, and I'm a senior, technically, I still rank below them. So when I enter a room or when I leave prayer, I'm almost a follow behind them. Whereas those who entered behind me, who maybe have taken solemn vows still, we have Brother Bosco, who gave his vocation story just recently. He just professed solemn vows this year, so he ranks below me. So he would leave choir, he would leave prayer after I do. And then we have the junior monks, those who have taken simple vows. And finally, the lowest ranking are the novices, who have not taken any vows at all. So that's the hierarchy of the community. That's how we know who's in charge, what's going on, and who we look to for when we need spiritual guidance, we need day-to-day problems solved, when our air conditioner is broken, when we need help with our teeth, getting them fixed, or the formation of entering into this community. So I hope you enjoyed that episode and that it was informative and you learned something. If you did, please do all the great things that we encourage you to do on YouTube. Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, do them. If you want to see more content about what it's like to be a monk, you can check out this playlist here where I talk about all the different ins and outs of being a monk. And if you want to hear the vocation story of Brother Bosco, the monk I just mentioned, you can find that right here. Hope you enjoyed today. God bless.